I'm excited to really kind of go over today is, how we're positioning for success in the AI era. First, can you let me know if you can see my screen, Christian?
Yes.
Perfect, perfect. And as AI has kind of really, come running in super fast here, it's caused a lot of law firms to be a bit, a lot of them a little bit scared, a lot of them, looking at how it is that they can position themselves for success in this space. And fortunately at Law Leaders, we have some tremendous partners, and one of those partners that we have is Yext. And I had the opportunity to see Christian speak at the local growth summit here just a couple of months ago, and to hear a little bit about kind of what he's doing in his space, and some of the information and the data that he was able to share was really one of the big highlights of the entire show. I feel like every table that we were at, I either heard Christian's name come up or I heard the information that he shared, because it's having a direct impact on law firms right now. AI is not like a later thing. It's not a future thing. It is a part of where we're at this stage. So, Christian, could you just take a couple of minutes for those that don't know and talk a little bit about like what Yext is and your role within Yext?
Sure. Well, again, thank you, Shane, for the opportunity today. So it's nice to certainly speak with you again. So my name is Christian Ward. I'm Chief Data Officer at Yext. I've been at Yext for a little over a decade. And Yext is a digital presence platform. It leverages a knowledge graph for businesses to feed data all across the data ecosystem, to search like Google and Bing and Amazon, Alexa, all those systems, but then also powers websites, it powers social platforms. The best way to think about it is all of the data about every law practice needs to be the same anywhere someone looks. And so the idea behind Yext was always that the world is fragmented. People don't all search the same. They don't always, some people are using their phone, desktop, but all those different applications, we wanted to make one place really easy to make sure as much knowledge about a business, any business, could be. So we're publicly traded on the New York Stock Exchange, went public a number of years ago. We represent roughly 2.5 million businesses, individual businesses around the world. So it's quite a large platform, and it gives us enormous insights into how search and AI work, which is a lot of what my focus has been the last 2 years.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. And so excited to have you today, Christian, to share some of your insights. And my name is Shane Criss. I am the Vice President of Business Development at Law Leaders. What Law Leaders is we identify, promote, and strengthen brands of the top-rated attorneys throughout the country, with a massive focus on delivering pre-qualified, warm transfers to clients, and then also helping them, develop their brand and keep up with the ever-changing landscape that we're seeing inside of the market. And as AI and that fragmentation of the market plays a bigger and bigger role, accuracy of information and strength of brand is going to be even more and more important. I think, one of the things that got everyone's attention is when Gartner came out and predicted that search volume will drop by 25% by 2026. And when you look at just how, just right around the corner, 2026 is, all the alarm bells, started going off. And the biggest reason why is because so many law firms' client acquisition strategies have been based on positioning themselves in front of people when they most urgently need their services. And that's when they're going to their phone or they're going to their computer, and they're starting that process of look for who it is that they can hire. And in whatever the scenario is, whether it's a divorce, whether it's for a personal injury matter, and any of those situations. And it happens very quickly. So law firms are wanting to make sure that they're staying ahead of it, because the speed has just been, almost like mind numbing, and how AI has come through. One of the data points that really stood out to me is when you look at some of those properties out there that we saw, just kind of what felt like come out of nowhere, like Twitter or Facebook. It took Twitter 2 years to get to 1 million users. It took ChatGPT 5 days to get there. And when Christian and I were talking about this before, he brought up to me, he goes, yeah, Shane, that's impressive. But did you ever go and take a look at how quickly ChatGPT went from 1 million to 100 million as it, kind of compared to the other properties out there? And he kind of guided me toward this graph, and it blew my mind away, going in and looking at, years it took these other properties that we see as behemoths in the marketplace to ChatGPT. I think it was like 2 months. Is that right, Christian?
Yeah, it was about 60 days. And that's an astounding fact. But it also it kind of ties into, you and I were discussing all of these other platforms. Like Netflix was a CD-ROM by mail service, right? Like
Yeah.
humans really had to adopt these other things. When you look
Mhm.
at this line, it is a straight line to 100 million. And
Yeah.
we now know it's close to 250 million weekly active users. So it's not like this has slowed down. It's just expanded in capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, so you're a data person, Christian. Like the data that you have available to you is incredible. So this looks really impressive and almost overwhelming for many. Is that adoption that rapid, or is there something else that's getting kind of lost in the numbers here?
Yeah, it's a great question. It's one that we've been very focused on because naturally, a lot of people work with us, and we partner with you all for a very particular purpose, which is, hey, wherever someone looks, we want to make sure that data is correct. But also, we know that Google, as a central, the largest search engine, there's
Mhm.
tons of people that are looking for that at Google, and we know that the more your data is correct everywhere, the more it affects Google. That's just practical data science. This, however, is something that no one's seen. I really don't think they have. So the best way to frame this is this chart, and I think I mentioned, I don't love these adoption charts. And it's because all these other technologies, I agree, they're being adopted. This is the first chart that actually looks like the technology is adopting us. That's a very different thing. In other words, from the time you're 2.5, you are starting to understand language. And then you get into sort of like the different stages of how a human grows. And they understand over a pretty long period of time. This is literally saying you can talk to these machines and they absolutely understand what you're saying.
Mhm.
Now, we can get into the semantics of is it really understanding or is it just a probabilistic model and all that. That's it's irrelevant to me. The reality here is people are going to these systems and saying, "Hey, I just had an accident. I'm very concerned. Can you help me? What is the first thing I can do? Who should I call?" All of those process is speeding up. And so at Yext, we started doing an analysis of this, and we actually found that Gartner quote of 25% will be gone. And what they're talking about is classic Google search,
Mhm.
that traffic will be gone by 2026. The data I have says it could almost be twice as fast as that, meaning by
Wow.
the end of 2024. So not even the beginning of next year, we're already seeing in certain industries a drop of 8 to 30% of search impressions. Now, before people freak out, that's not really a problem yet because what's happening is people are going to ChatGPT and everyone listening that uses these services, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about, which is you can go and have a total conversation with ChatGPT, but it's still not quite there where I can like click to call a lawyer or click to, we call those exploits or CTAs, call it to action. Google's really good at letting you search for something and then click or find an ad. The AI isn't quite there yet, but it's going to get there. So we're seeing less search happening, but the clicks are all still coming from Google, which
Yeah.
I expect to hold. That will probably hold for the next several months. But there's a new platform in Perplexity. They just added shopping just in time for Black Friday a few weeks ago, where now you can go to Perplexity, which is one of these AI systems, and you basically say, hey, listen, I've got a kid that's 10 years old, super into Lego and space exploration and this. Give me some ideas of what I could buy them. And the thing will literally talk to you about what's good, what's not. You can have, and then it will have the button that says buy now. And so they're starting to figure out how to monetize a good conversation. And that's very different than ads. Ads
Mhm.
currently are much more, in a way, Google's model does better, if you don't get the answer, right? Because if I say accident attorney, like the reality is that's a pretty wide net, and Google can show tons of different ads. And if you don't get what you're looking for, what do? We don't call Google and go, that's not what I was looking for. We research, right? So we go
Yeah.
back in and we go, sorry, I'm an accident attorney auto. And now it's a little closer. And now they showed more ads. It gives them multiple bites at the apple by getting close, but not, it's like horseshoes and hand grenades. They're like close counts for search. AI is not like that. AI is all about using dialogue, dialogos, Greek, through words. It is a process by which you arrive at an answer. It is not meant to get you close. And so the idea here is the AI is going to march you down the funnel and literally go, there's two attorneys that meet your criteria. Here they are.
Yeah.
That's a very different world. It's astounding for especially things like medical, legal, financial, things that I will say are complex. This is a big opportunity that everyone needs to be focused on.
Yeah, and I think that's a tremendous segue because, I've just been doing some searches and I really want to kind of get to how this impacts law firms in a current market. One, the way we see ChatGPT today or Gemini or any of these other tools, it's going to look very different in the near future. And in the long term, who knows what it looks like? Here's a really good example. I live in Oceanside, California. I did a search, for a divorce attorney in Carlsbad. It is the neighborhood next to me. It's actually the neighborhood that I've lived in, for a while as well. And it's delivering me up something that we're kind of familiar with, kind of like a map view. It gave me a list of businesses. And when I came in here, it asked me which one did I prefer? Do I like one or do I like another? And
Right.
then, it's going to influence, what it gives me in the future as time goes forward. And so this is another kind of unique way of looking at it. Now I have the paid ChatGPT version. When I go out of the paid, which does not source live information from the web, it just kind of gives me like some information on how I could go search, for a divorce attorney. Now, I wanted to ask you, Christian, you guys have so many people under your umbrella, legal, other spaces as well. What are you seeing the impact right now to law firms and local businesses?
So for local, it's a couple of things, which is obviously in this conversation we're focused on ChatGPT or AI systems. So
Yeah.
I will group in Gemini, ChatGPT, Perplexity, and to some extent Claude. Those are probably the big ones that people have heard of. But something else is happening here also, which is Gen Z uses TikTok to search for local businesses more than they use Google. That's mind blowing. They don't even use the word Google as a verb. Okay, that's like, sorry, that
Yeah.
blows my mind, right? So they don't view it that way. And so you have Instagram, TikTok, Facebook just announced, Meta announced that they're building their own search engine, which I think legal really needs to focus on, which is someone says to Facebook, hey, I had a fender bender. Is there any attorney that like my friends have used or mentioned or like it's going to be able to look through your network to see if there anyone that you know is related to or has someone that can help. That's a very different world. And so you start getting into not just, yes, the AI systems, but what we're saying it more broadly is search is fragmenting also with these other platforms. There's an interesting article recently where someone listed all the traffic for daily searches. Yes, Google is the biggest, but the next one is Instagram, the next one is Facebook, then TikTok, then Snapchat, and you go down the line. If you add up all these other daily search bars, they dwarf Google. So what we're saying is the AI is also making these other systems have really good search. That was the problem before, is that the search wasn't great on these other systems. I mean, look, Facebook's they tried like 4 times. It never really took off. But now I really think they have the technology to potentially really compete depending on who their audience is. Like I'm either too old or too young to be on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook. But the understanding of the data they have is unbelievable in terms of linking local businesses. So I actually think it's much bigger than people realize. I understand why we're hyper focused on Google. We should be. They are the center of the universe, but it doesn't mean that, as this screen shows, These AI systems are using lots of other sources of data that are not Google. And as they do that, that opens up how we think about the best way to optimize.
Yeah, and I think it kind of comes back to something that's been true for a long time, and that's accuracy of information and quality content and strength of brand is going to continue to be incredibly important. I think another piece of this that I've seen a big focus go toward is, what is the intent, of searches? And I think you have very different types of intent. You have intent for just information, and you have intent to make a decision. I've been doing digital marketing for going on, 17, 18 years. And when it comes to, websites and strategies for SEO and all of these things. And it's really been kind of like that content is king. And we would talk about things like long tail search terms, catching people while they're in more of their research stage in the process. But what we have seen is when you do go to Google right now, AI has severely interrupted what's going on over there. Gemini has taken such a prominent section of the Google search engine results page and has kind of like swallowed it up. Now that's happening for those longer tail search terms, those not real the specific what we call high intent, which is meaning
Yeah.
someone's looking for, a divorce attorney or a personal injury attorney in a particular market to hire them like right then, with like some level of urgency. And even when you go further down the page, what we're seeing is Google's delivering a lot more information in that traditional SEO section, the organic section of Google, in a lot of cases has gotten pushed down,
Yeah.
And we've also seen the trend for consumers is they're getting more specific in what they're looking for and also the geography that they're looking for. Looking at one of the fastest growing areas over the past few years, it's been near me, As those pages get more and more convoluted, people are getting more specific with the search engine and the information that they want. And this is where it's going to be really, really critical going forward, especially for the next year or two. Going back to what Christian was talking about a few minutes ago, I still believe that when it comes to that immediate client acquisition stage, being there when consumers are looking to hire someone, Google still reigns king, inside of the marketplace. How long, that goes on for, I have no clue. It may kind of always kind of hold that key, space there. But what I do know right now is when it comes to, kind of that high intent space, there are some areas that we're seeing that are performing incredibly, incredibly well. Google's wrapped a lot of that around your local business's brand. It's really how well have you been able to leverage your clients to rate and review you,
Yeah.
and to
Yeah.
say, hey, we endorse this person that we've done business with. One of the biggest areas that we've seen over the past few years, I was really kind of involved when Google was first beta testing this, it's local service ads. And what local service ads, for those of you that don't know, it's a call-driven campaign that Google has structured that you're generally seeing at the very top of the search engine. So when we get to those terms, like we talked about, where it's high intent, family law attorney in Coral Springs, for example, this is one of our clients that we have at Law Leaders. It's really dominating the page. And what Google's doing is they're going a level deeper than we've ever seen before for vetting these out. So I can't say this is the case, but definitely a lot of pressure on delivering high quality information and verified businesses. And in this process, what LSA does is it actually makes you go through a verification process to even qualify to be in the pool. You have to submit your information to Google. It takes a little bit of time and it comes back. And then Google's going even deeper, where They are requiring that you be well established inside of your market, that your reviews are going to play a big role into this as well. But they're going an extra layer into this, which is into your intake. So Google wants to make sure that if a legal consumer is going in and doing a search for a family law attorney in Coral Springs, that when a consumer actually makes a phone call and to an attorney, that someone picks up and that user has a positive experience, and that's pretty incredible. So I think that as the competition becomes greater for search, Google's obviously raising the bar to ensure that the legal consumer is having a positive experience. What are your thoughts on that, Christian?
So look, you're talking about Google is very good at merging what we would call in decision science, the explore versus exploit trade-off.
Mhm.
And that's what this ad is, right? When people are exploring, they're finding information, but the exploit is when they take an action to call. What
Mhm.
Google is saying is, well, that's not really the end of the experience. It's not just an ad. Like, we want to understand if the explore versus exploit trade-off was at the right time, it resulted in the right outcome. And so they're trying to gather more data. And I actually think while this is still relatively manual, this is not far away from where AI takes this next. And I'll give you an example, which is you put in family law attorney, Coral Springs, Florida. Nobody talks like that. That's gibberish. That's
Mhm.
that's that's keyword speak. That's not real, right? So for all the people that aren't great at Google searching, the reality is they're probably like, hey, I need to talk to an attorney about potentially getting a divorce. I'm in Coral Springs. Who should I speak to? Okay, if you type all that into Google, it doesn't work as well. And this
Yeah.
ad probably doesn't come up because it's not designed for that.
Yeah.
This ad's designed for people that know how to use Google. And they know because they target it based on the keywords. But what's happening now is, do you know what AI does when you ask it the question I just asked? It says something like, I'm really sorry to hear that. Before I introduce you to anybody, could you tell me a little bit more about the situation? Are there kids involved? How long have you been married? Okay, where do you live? Where exactly? It starts asking questions that the law firm is going to want to understand to qualify even further. And there's going to be rules around this. But right now, by the way, this is actually called prompt inversion. So what happens today is people try AI and they're like, maybe a Dr. Seuss poem. It's great. They don't really try it. But what people need to sort of see is for complex things, doctors, lawyers, financial professionals, what Google's doing with this ad and why it's so good and why I completely concur. I think these are really bright is Google's kind of solving a lot of that funnel for you before you even get into it. They're going, no, these are real lawyers. We've qualified them. We know they have good outcomes. We're going to allow them to buy this particular type of ad. But I guess what I'm saying is these AI systems that are not Google and these other platforms, they don't have ads. You're not buying your unit. You actually have to provide the AI with the knowledge to then ask the next question and get further down the funnel. So this leads to a very interesting sort of conundrum, which is the business model of these ads is high performance, high intent, both parties are happy. What
Mhm.
AI has started doing is it's saying, this isn't even an ad. This is just walking you down a funnel and making sure that you're finding a few of the right things. And there's a real reason, which is if AI gets this wrong, what's the penalty for switching? Like if Gemini doesn't work, I can try ChatGPT. They're both $20. Who cares? Like the
Mhm.
reality is, and actually they both have free versions, but the reality is there isn't really a penalty for switching. Google right now is the center of the universe for search. But if our data is correct, then it's into this other area of you don't stop doing Google. You got to keep doing that. And you should
Yeah.
look into these exact type of experiences. But look for experiences where what the consumer is trying to find or the individual is in line with what you're trying to do, which is if you really focus your practice on very particular things and you're big in your local community and you've been around for 27 years and you went to the local university, you have all these other things of why someone might pick you over someone else, that's going to show up in the AI if
Mhm.
you give the data to the AI. And so I think that's where this is a good example of a massive advertising platform, bringing more of that explore and exploit together. But I think AI opens it up even further.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue for this because it's really, a lot of those things that have been important still are going to be important. And this is an area that we do a tremendous amount of coaching. Are when we look at the conversion from LSA ads, they're stronger than anything else that we've seen out there. Stronger than
Yeah.
what the pay-per-click, model that's been out there forever have been organic search. This is the only other place that we see that high level, because people are leaning on the fact that other consumers have had an experience, had a great experience, and they've gone out and they're really kind of promoting you. And when you look at whether it's Google or it's AI, it's not one or the other, it's kind of all of the above. And that's why it's going to be incredibly important to just have a well-diversified strategy as you continue to move forward. And I think that's really always been the case, not being too heavily invested in one particular area, ignoring the rest of them. Because when you do see massive changes, whether it's Google algorithm change or ChatGPT makes an adjustment to how it is that they're developing their tools and what they're delivering, that you're well positioned for it. And I truly believe that when it comes to one of the most bulletproof areas that we have out there, it is this section of Google. It's the
Yeah.
Google business profile. It's got so much strength. Even when I showed you all earlier the results that ChatGPT gave me with the two maps, when I clicked on that map, where did it take me? It actually took me back to
Right.
Google Maps. So this is still an area that we always really need to be, focused on. I would say right now, if, I was putting my marketing dollars out there, it would be focusing on, LSA and ensuring that I had a well-developed strategy that I was implementing to activate my clients to go out there and endorse me,
Yeah.
to put that endorsement out, let the world know the services that we've put in place. And this just does not happen without you having some type of a process. And I wouldn't get too caught up if you're a firm and you have 8 to 10 reviews, feel like, you have to have 400 reviews even to play ball. I have seen, we saw earlier in Fort Lauderdale, under 30 reviews showing up at the very top of Google for LSA and also in the Google business profile because they're looking for other things. They're looking for how well developed are these profiles, how much quality information. You could put posts into these profiles that are incredibly powerful. They're looking at cadence. How often are you getting reviews? What's the response from your firm on those reviews? And what's the quality of the information in those reviews? So these are all things that we can be doing right now that's going to benefit you, whether you're looking at Google or you're looking at ChatGPT, Gemini, any other AI platform that exists out there.
Yeah. And something to tie that back to is a lot of times people talk about this as SEO, search engine optimization. But the reality is there's nobody at Google, ChatGPT, Claude, or Perplexity with the title SEO. It's not how this works. They're all data scientists. And they all read the same books and the same understanding of how do you do this properly. And so if you go to Google, Google actually has data that says, hey, the way to rank in this 3-pack is based on proximity, prominence, and relevance. Now, what does that mean? Well, it's a black box and they're not going to tell everybody. What I can tell you we have found over time is there's very specific tactics to doing well on this area. Because if you're in this first 3 section, you're going to do way better than if someone has to click the more businesses tab. And so the idea here is if you're at Google and you're data science, what you're looking for is exactly what Shane said, which is there's got to be a certain number of reviews. Now, actually, reviews is a pretty funny chart. It kind of looks like this, where there is a point of diminishing returns. You don't have to have 700 reviews. That's been studied by academics. We know that's not true. However, having recent reviews and responding to reviews is very important because Google is showing that you're engaged with the profile. Another thing that's really important is Google's not the only platform out there. And we can see this with AI as well, which is if you're Celino or Andrews or Dietrich here, the reality is Google's checking all the other platforms out there to say, I have this Dietrich firm. Do you have Dietrich? Cool. Do you have the same data for Dietrich? Cool. We all have the same for Dietrich? Awesome. I'm going to move Dietrich up because another firm, not everybody had the data, or the data was different, or the firm isn't in that location anymore. That's consistency. That affects how these algorithms rate your data. So you have reviews, you have consistency, and you have these frequency of updates. All of those are critical because what you're trying to do is actually just an anecdote. Shane, do you know how many businesses there are in the United States alone, like on a given year? It's
No
roughly
clue.
it's like 30 million when you add in all the little LLCs and stuff. Okay. In that 30 million, regardless of who's president or the economic, it doesn't matter, roughly 15 to 20% go out of business every year. How many of those businesses do you think that go out of business call Google and go, hey, it's been a tough year. Can you take us out of the search platform? Yeah, we're not in business.
Like
Zero.
none. Yeah.
Zero. No one reaches out. So what Google is doing is what all data science do is we're signal processing. We're actually listening and looking at all the signals we can to understand what level of trust as an algorithm can I have that this attorney is here. They are in business. They're responsive to their clients. All of that data is in this information. That's why you rank. And so to your point, I can't agree more. You have to have a strategy to make sure all of this is correct. And so far in our analysis, ChatGPT and all the other AI systems are following the same data science approach, which is make sure that data signal is as strong as possible. And that helps you rank in any of these situations.
Yeah, and that's actually, brings me to a great segue as well. For anyone that would like for me to help you with this, I can actually go in and do a scan of your business to really give you a solid understanding and how accurate is your information across all of these different indices throughout the web, all of these different directories that exist. And then also help you get a better understanding and how you're competing in your hyper local market against your competition when it looks at things like reviews. This is something that I think every single law firm, especially now with not only Google, but also AI pulling all of this information, have access to, and take a look at. And then working with our partner over at Yext and Christian and his team, we can help you in a pretty succinct, fashion, get this where it needs to be. Because when we look at kind of the entire cycle to take a legal consumer from that point in which they have, an issue that they need to go out and, research to hire an attorney all the way through the process. We've got to handle each aspect of this. One, you've got to be visible. You've got to be there, and in order to be there, you need to have this information accurate. When people type in terms like best and top into Google, you need to be viable. And to be viable, you have to have over 4-star reviews in that given market in order to even appear. Google's going to grab those. And in your competitive markets, it's going to be investing to pull yourself up to the top in spaces like, LSA, having the accuracy of information across the board so you can, actually appear even when you are paying for those ads. So your, kind of quality score that Google puts together for you puts you, at the top. And these are all things that we do at our organization is assist with these things. We facilitate most of this for all of our clients. And then we provide a lot of coaching around helping you generate those high quality views. How do you engage with your clients to, like I said before, help activate them, so they're out there and they're helping, helping promote your business and drive you toward the top. But I cannot stress this enough. No matter how much you're appearing everywhere, and Google's showing right now how they're putting a lot of weight into this as well. Intake is incredibly key to all of this. If you do all of this marketing and when people call in, they go to your voicemail, they go to a line that rings too many times, poof, they're just gone. So one of the things that we build into essentially all of the campaigns that we run, both for ourselves, because we generate thousands and thousands of leads every single month, is a high quality intake service. We partner with lawyer.com lawyer line to help us with this. We want to make sure if someone has taken that critical step to pick up the phone and dial, that they're going to get someone on the other end that can have that conversation with them, help them get that consultation set up, make them feel like they have their guy or their gal at that point in time. Because on the internet, I don't care if they're going through ChatGPT, Google, I don't care what the source is, they have choices. And we want to stop that process as soon as possible. So that is such a critical step in this entire thing. Going back to a couple of other things that we talked about, with Google and the AI engines out there using all of this third-party data to kind of verify who it is that they should be delivering. Anyone that's on this call, if you just simply send an email to me, my email address is shane@lawleaders.com. We will provide you with a free premium profile on Law Leaders, which provides you with also a backlink to your website and all of that good stuff for 90 days. So that's something that for anyone that's on this call, just send me a quick little email. We'll get that set up. And I would love to connect with you further if you want us to do a little bit deeper assessment, if you want to learn a little bit more how you can leverage some of these tools, LSA, help boost your Google business profile, ultimately generating more revenue through connecting you with the people that are searching for your services online. I, would love to have a conversation with you about that. Yext is an amazing partner for us. We've built their solution into our tools because we know how impactful it is to have that accuracy of information across the board. I'm going to share one other thing that we're putting together. And Christian, you were talking earlier about how people are using AI differently than how they use use search engines. So this is a new tool that we're just rolling out. We're just getting through the beta process of this. It's Legal Navigator AI. And essentially what this is helping people do is get some of the answers that they need when they're in that critical moment. This is something that we have on our website, lawleaders.com. We're also going to be rolling this out to our clients here shortly. We're thinking it's probably going to roll out in the next month or so. But just to kind of give you a trial of what this looks like, if someone is in a market, they can just speak directly. We've named our AI engine Linda. So, Linda says, hey, start with your name, and I'll just say Shane. And what is a legal issue you are facing? I got into an accident this morning. And need help. So we have trained this AI platform for the legal space, specifically for this use case. It says, I'm sorry to hear about your accident. Could you provide me with more details of the accident? For example, was it a car accident, slip and fall, or something else? I was hit by a truck.
Hope not.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to hear about your accident. Shane, were you injured in the accident? Yes, my neck and right shoulder hurt. And even if you misspell it, it'll correct that for you. I'm sorry to hear that. Have you reported your accident to your insurance company and have you filed a police report? So it's kind of walking you through it in a very personal, way. Yes. And it's just going to continue to guide you through. So what this tool will do, and we would train this for a particular law firm, just like we've trained it for our site as well. It's guiding them through the process where if they're on their phone, they can quickly engage in that process, leading them down the path to reach out directly for you. And it's only if the questions that the questions that they're asking and their answers match up to your law firm. So this is another really cool thing that we're going to be rolling out here, and I'm sure you're seeing a lot of this throughout the all industries, Christian.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting, this is exactly what I was talking about with the inversion of the prompts, right? Which is you're answering, but where we see this really going is the AI actually knows probably the next best question to ask than the human does, right? If this were actually happening, you might still be in shock. You might still be like, there's a lot going on here. And the point of the AI system is based on what you're saying is it should be asking the right questions. And the beauty of this is you're asking someone to share information. They don't have to share, they don't have to answer, they don't have to stay in the chat. So this isn't like surveillance. This is a direct conversation capture to better route the person to the right next step. And I think that's really the promise of these tools
Yeah.
is if they're properly trained, they're properly deployed, they're conscientious of personal privacy, et cetera. You get to this point where a lot of the intake is actually going to happen with the AI, then handing off to a human at the right spot. Hopefully, you should be leveraging a service like yours where the human is available and is always there.
Yep.
But once you have that, as a firm, you're basically now getting the top of the leads in terms of the fact that these are real. These are people with real issues. They need help. It's been qualified, and you have all the data you need to have a immediate conversation. And I think that's a real opportunity. Think of all the humans that you would, or websites that you would bounce around going back and forth to, where this system can literally guide you to the right answer. And that is not the real punchline in all this is that for so long, and so weirdly looking back at it now, has been a search box that never remembers what you type in, doesn't care about what you said last, has no idea what the prior 5 searches were, what you searched on other pages. We're going to look back and go, I can't believe I found an attorney doing it that way. It's going to be this, and this is going to come much faster than people realize.
Yeah, it's, I was thinking about it the other day. It's like the robot asked us to communicate like a robot, and we did.
Yes,
Instead of
yes.
us being able to communicate the way that we naturally would, and then it being intuitive enough to be able to understand that and guide us down a path, which is where I ultimately think we are and where we're going to continue to go in.
Yep. And look, I think that's the beauty of this is there is actually a cognitive burden that happens when people have to take what they want to know and convert it into keyword speak. And that burden is being lifted. And so I think that, again, in very complex things, I'm not saying it necessarily matters in fast food. If you want tacos now, that's pretty simple, right? But if you're talking about something like this, anything legal, anything financial, healthcare, the more complex, the more the obvious benefit of these tools and systems. And I just think if your practice is using them or is exploring, the only parting word I would say to everyone here is if you're not testing some of these things, use the free versions, test them, get an understanding, use it for more than, just writing Dr. Seuss poems about, Thanksgiving dinner. Do something really out there and challenge it. And I think you'll be very, very surprised at what it's already capable of.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Christian. And thank you everyone for joining. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to connect with us today. I really hope that you got a lot of value out of this. Once again, if you have any questions about any of the topics that we discussed today, my email address is Shane@lawleaders.com. Reach out to me. Let's have a conversation about it. I can do a comprehensive assessment and analysis of your business, where you currently stand, and hopefully help you get where you're wanting to go. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Shane.
Thank you.